I am Noriko Bullford, and this is Uncut News. Today marks 100 days since the current PPP administration entered office. So, what kind of news broadcast would we be if we didn't give you a quick analysis of their first 100 days in office? So, let's start off with something we can all agree on that they did good. The first and best thing they've done thus far is the liberalization of the telecom sector. After close to 30 years of languishing under the tyranny of AT&T, we are finally free of the monopoly, opening the market to other telecoms corporations you'll eventually grow to resent too. Plus, they did this in almost no time. Like, seriously, it seemed like almost immediately after making office, which is something ARPANEW was never able to do. Speaking of things ARPANEW never did, number 2, the PPP attacked scamming Yuri Anatika's Ponzi scheme almost immediately, and they did not hesitate to throw the book at them. In fact, they threw the whole library at them. As we later learned, the scheme was huge, netting millions of dollars from thousands of victims. We also learned that the scheme was around 4 years, and ARPANEW even knew about it, but decided to do nothing. Worse yet, this was during the pandemic, when people were most vulnerable to scammers. On the topic of the pandemic, unlike ARPANEW, the PPP actually started addressing the pandemic. They actively sought outside financial assistance and successfully obtained millions in aid and equipment from around the world. They also put on an actual medical doctor to lead the pandemic response team, Dr. Frank Anthony. They also finished the work at the Rona View Hotel, meaning that they resisted the strong urge every single politician in this country gets, which is to throw away everything just because the other government did it before them. So, you've seen an increase in cases because they are actually testing people and increasing the analysis capacity, meaning that we're actually getting results faster than before. Now, I'll admit, they could do much better in terms of the pandemic response than they are doing now. In fact, the recent reopening of schools and certain businesses will make the pandemic here worse, but testing and making decisions based on the best results available makes far more sense than ARPANEW's wait-and-see method. Why didn't they do anything? Well, I'm not sure. Maybe they were too busy, trying to stay in power, whether by hook or crook. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's car of the day. Currently on sale is this 2011 Toyota Sienna with 7 seats, TV, navigation stereo, crystal lights, mag rims, fog lamps, rear fold-down screen, and much more. Pay cash for $2.5 million or pay down as low as $500,000 with $48,000 monthly, and it's yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit their showrooms at Lot 171 Peter Rowe Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamahosh Street, and tell them Noriko sent you for this sweet deal. The fourth and good thing the PPP has done so far is prosecuting those responsible for the big rig of 2020. This needs to be resolved in court, and if found guilty, those people need to be punished. Politicians and the rich never go to jail in this country, so a successful prosecution will set a precedent for everyone. Not PPP, not ARPANEW, but everyone. So they better not lose steam like the coalition did when they had the chance to prosecute the PPP political criminals. But, above all, this government must do it in a fair and transparent manner, or otherwise it's just a political witch hunt. And the fifth major accomplishment in the first 100 days was the serious and immediate push to start new infrastructure projects. While he was Minister of Housing, the president was known as brute force and bare ignorance. But for the past 100 days, he's been directing much of that energy to errant contractors. He's threatened legal action against bad local contractors. He then turned his attention to the Chinese. He abused up the Chinese on the airport project. Then he abused them up on the Mandela expansion project. Of course, one thing the PPP loves is building a road, and it shows. His government has already started reorganizing the East Bank Bypass project, and he also formed planning committees for the construction of bridges across the Demerara, the Quarantine, and the Essequibo connecting to Bartica. It's November, people, robbery season. If I were you, I would consider getting security for the home of business. I personally recommend Sheriff Security Service. I find that they are the most professional, with well-trained armed or unarmed guards. Get some security this Christmas, people. And of course, we wouldn't be fair if we didn't also point out some of the bad things that stuck out in the first 100 days. The biggest and most obvious one is the fact that Jagdeo is back in the big boy seat. If you truly believe that he's not the one in control of this country today, then you either are in denial or you don't know Jagdeo. His behavior over the past 2 decades has shown that the PPP is his party, and the fact that he's still in the office of the president shows that he's still firmly in control of it. And look at it. He recalled Gail Teixeira, Nandwal Priya, Frank Anthony, broke down Ben. I mean, he basically reassembled the whole gang, so that doesn't really bode well for progress and corruption-free governance. Just saying. Also, another bad look is the fact that they selected a set of alleged predators for members of parliament. Seriously. Of course, you've got Slap and Strip Barry Ramsaram, Touch and Let Go Alistair Charlie, and Kwame McCoy. Well, enough said. The third major misstep was wasting $3 billion in taxpayer money on another Guy Suko bailout. This was an obvious and disappointing political move. For one, we will never be able to compete with large exporting countries, even with modernization of our industry. In fact, the money could have been better spent. Remember, we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and that could have helped out a lot of people. Speaking of which, did you get your check yet? I sure didn't. Plus, it seems pretty unfair if you won't give City Hall $500 million bailout because it is a corrupt institution, which I don't disagree with, but you will give Guy Suko billions, no questions asked. If you ask me, we could have taken some of that money to research ways to make agriculture as a whole in this nation more profitable and not just sugar. The fourth one was the mishandling of the Henry Boys and Harris Singh investigation. From the start, the government did little to ease the anger of the community. This triggered the protest, which triggered the lawlessness, which triggered an even bigger negative response than if they had just handled it with care. So now there are genuine fears that the investigation will never be solved, which is terrible because if they had immediately handed it over to independent investigators, it would cast almost all doubt of corruption out of the window. What is even sadder is that the government could have viewed this national tragedy involving both Black and Indian children as an opportunity to have serious discussions about race relations and, of course, national healing after an extremely divisive election based mainly on race. But no, instead they allowed the opposition to politicize it. And now here we are, 2 months later, arguing about who needs to foot the bill for the case while a set of killers roam free in Berbice. You can multiply your cash by selling Digicel Top-Up. This is a legit way you can earn some extra money at your business or to supplement your existing hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy through Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. And finally, the fifth biggest issue is the still ongoing and repressive tint restriction. 100 days and you're still in Give Us Back We Tint. It's too hot to drive around without it. I want my tinted windows. It's now time for today's Runner Report. Today, the nation recorded 6 new cases. The total number of deaths now stands at 135. There are now 9 persons in the ICU and 743 persons in home isolation. The total number of known cases in the country is now 4,530. So, please, people, wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your nose and mouth and mask up before you leave the house. When you do leave home, try to avoid enclosed spaces and large crowds, and remember to give 6 feet of space between you and others. And now for our weird news story of the day. Potholes. Every driver hates them, but one man in Massachusetts decided to take matters into his own hands by planting tiny Christmas trees in the holes on the busy road near to his home. Kevin Martin said his plan began after he recently hit a series of potholes that flattened all 4 of his tires. He said that he had previously complained to the town and state governments about the potholes, but no action was taken. Martin said he planted the trees because he wanted to force officials to fill the potholes properly. His stunt appears to have worked, as the trees were removed and the potholes were filled hours after he did the stunt. You use proper lube on your sweet woman, don't you? Then why not your engine? Keep your engine running smooth with Syntec lubricants, manufactured specifically for tropical climates and built for hard-working engines. Syntec is available nationwide and is imported and distributed by Caribbean Motor Spares. Call them on telephone number 609-7621. Syntec Lubricants drives your journey. Moving on to our Uncut News Viewers Poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Guyana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. So you give your responses in the comments, and we just might read the best ones in the following episode. Yesterday's question was, will anything come of the drug boat investigation? Ramlal Singh said, you can't stop drugs. Period. Gordon Allen said, honestly, I don't think anything will happen, cause the mastermind might pay out someone in a high position and the case will drop, but I hope something happens, cause that's a lot of cocaine. Samuel Ramsey said, "The cocaine per street value is approximately our country's economy." Not exactly, but I understand where you're coming from. "It is my opinion that no poor man can orchestrate such a shipment. It must have been funded by wealthy, persuasive delegation and influential personnel, and only one organization comes under those categories: politics. If I am wrong, say so, and I'll concede." Well, I won't tell you you're wrong. But before we get into tonight's question, I have to tell you that Ravina's on Water Street and Anand's on Regent Street just received a new shipment of leatherette in over 16 colors. Leatherette can be used in a wide variety of applications, including covering speedboat seats, cargo, and keeping commuters dry. Ideal for minibus and car seats. Leatherette can be custom made to your seating requirements. Leatherette is easy to clean and sanitize and a better choice during the COVID pandemic. For fast and comfortable shopping, visit us to get the best prices in town. That's Ravina's on Water Street and Anand's on Regent Street. Good answers, people. So tonight, I gave you 5 good and 5 bad things the PPP has done in the first 100 days in office. Did we miss anything? If so, tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in Wednesday's episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. Check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Noriko Bullford saying good night, folks. Hey, Uncut News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now.